And this is going to be our third session on learning to use WordPress to make our new website. And I'm going to start, as we always will now, by logging into my WordPress website. I've got my username and my password in here, and I'm going to click the login button, and that will log me in, and I can see the dashboard. And for today, we're going to be looking at using blocks to add some design and special bits to our web pages. So the best way to do this is for me to make a brand new page. So I'm going to go to the Pages menu on the dashboard, and I'm going to select Add New. That's going to give me a new blank page with nothing on it. Wonderful. So I'm going to call it my new page, because that's what it is. So that's the title of the page. That's not actually a block, that's the title. Next is where we start with blocks. And we've already made a couple of blocks on previous pages. And I'm going to be starting by doing the obvious thing by putting in some type, some copy. So this is a paragraph. And that's the name of this type of block. We will find that as we move around the page, we can see things starting to happen. First of all, my paragraph has got a blue line around it, as you can see, and that shows me which block I'm working with. Then I've got a little toolbar here, which is some of the controls for this block. And this is a paragraph block, hence this little symbol here, which is a paragraph symbol. And there are some things I can change. So for example, I can change this to a paragraph which is centered, or a paragraph which is aligned right, but I'm going to leave it left. Okay, and this, if you remember, we can change things to bold and all sorts of stuff, and there's more things down here that we can do, which I won't get into right now. Another part of the blocks, which I didn't introduce last time, is over on the right here. You will notice a column which shows some settings, and it's got settings available for the whole page, which we don't want, but it's also for the current block. And this gives me things I can do for the whole block here. Oh, look, typography, font size. I can make this huge. There we are, that's huge. Or I can make it small, or anything in between. I'm going to make it normal because I'm normal. I can also change the size here in px, that's pixels. But we'll leave that. In fact, you can also change the units in this box, but don't worry too much about that. Okay, if you fiddle with something and there's a box at the end that says reset, if you didn't mean to fiddle with it, click the reset and it's gone back to how it was before. Look, oh, we can change the color of it all. Now, there's not a really exciting range of colors here. That's because we haven't set our color scheme for the whole website yet, and we'll get to that in a week or so. But what we can do is change the color of the text, and look, the paragraph over here has now turned blue. And I can even choose a custom color and say I want it sort of dark red, and it's now sort of dark red. There it is up there. But I've been fiddling around again. I'm going to click the clear button and go back to how it was. So as you see, this section over here are controls for this block over here. There are a few more things which I'll show to you about the way in which the blocks work as we go along. For now, let me just show you some things up here. This is a really useful tool. This is called the list view, and when I click this, you get a list of all the blocks in use on your page. Well, as we know, we've only put one block in at the moment, so there it is, paragraph. Later on, that view is going to be quite handy. Okay, This one can show us some information which isn't terribly useful. and this one enables us to change into a different mode. Frankly, I don't know why that's there yet, but I'm sure we'll find out later how important that is. Okay, so incidentally, should you not be seeing this box here on the right, that's because it hasn't been selected with a little gear icon. Okay, you can turn off that box on the right with the gear icon. We won't touch anything else just for now. So we've added a paragraph. Yeah, that's interesting. Let's add a heading. Okay, so this is a heading here. I'm going to put, now at the moment, because I started typing, it's automatically set it to be a paragraph. But if I click on that paragraph thing, you see here it says change block type or style, and normally, now not always, but heading will show. If it was a paragraph, you can always change it into a heading. Okay, now it's a heading, and we've got a new set of settings here. The heading, first of all, the important thing, can be set to any number. So heading 1 is the biggest and top level headings. Heading 2 is the second level headings. Generally, with web pages, quite important that you're organized and you start with big level 1 headings, then you move on to smaller level 2 headings, then level 3 headings as your page gets more complicated. So this is not the place for choosing how big the heading it is. This is the place for choosing how important it is. Is it the main heading for the whole page, or a subheading, or a sub-subheading? A subheading, H2. A sub-subheading, H3. Okay. If you do want to change the size of it, then that's what we can do over here. We can make it smaller. So we can make it a normal size, or a medium size, or, because I've started fiddling again, I'm going to push the reset button and gets us back there. So I've added a paragraph and I've added a heading. Now you'll notice that the heading is over there to the left and the paragraph is here. It's a bit odd at the moment, but don't worry, because actually when we show the page that we've made, we'll find the heading reappears in the right place. You can always look at what you've done by clicking the preview button, okay, and then this one here, and I would normally leave it set to desktop, preview in new tab, and there we are. Here's my page as it will look, and there's new page, paragraph, heading, they're all lined up. Okay, so it added a new tab so I could look at it, and I can go back and see it there. Okay, so that's quite handy, and we can use that facility. We can pop back and forth. We can add more here, okay, and then we can go back here and we can just refresh the page. Now that's not showing. Why not? Because we haven't saved it. So click Save Draft, go back, and there it is, the bit we've added. Okay, so don't forget Save Draft. Right, or publish. Publish is what you do when your page is ready for the public to see. So we've added the things you've already done before, and you're telling me, Dick, this is really boring. You've already told me all this. What more can we do? And this is where it starts to get interesting, because we can add other types of item here. Now, say for example, I want to add a list. If I type list of stuff and more, okay, whoops, can't spell, these end up as separate paragraphs, and that's not much helpful. They've got lots of space between them. What about if we could change this into a list where everything was close together? Well, we can change it here into a list, okay, and look, it's got a little bullet on it. And I can add new elements to the list. So I'm just going to get rid of that because that's no good at all. So I'm just rubbing it out and it's gone. Okay, and I rub it out. If you just delete out of a block, it'll just disappear. Okay, so now I've got my list. Again, it's still all there over on the left, but if I save draft and look, refresh the page, there it is. There's my list of stuff. The list box is useful. You can do things like have sublists. So there we are. That's a sublist where it started a main list and then and we can make that sublist. And the other thing we can do is to say, actually, that's not what I wanted. I wanted a list, a 1, 2, 3 list. Well, click here, and it becomes a 1, 2, 3 list. Interestingly, this is set as a bullet list, and we can change that to a 1, 2, 3 list or a bullet list. Okay, so it's all quite clever, really. Right, so that's the list box. Still a tiny bit boring, but it's a different sort of block. Okay, so we've done headings, we've done lists. What about this? Say, for example, someone says something really interesting on a subject, and you want to type it in as a quotation. Okay. Now I've clicked outside that block. Okay, we're no longer in there. Oh look, and it's saying here type or choose a block. Well, I'm going to choose a block here, and I'm going to use this plus symbol. It's really important, this plus symbol. It's up here too, and what that does is allows you to choose a new type of block, and we're going to choose the type quote. Okay, there we are. That's a quotation. From the snowman saying, it's cold in here, isn't it? Okay, now you notice that quotation has got 2 bits. Quotation has got the actual quotation okay, that's the actual quotation. This is what's called the attribution, or the I can't remember what else it's called, but anyway, it's the bit where you say who the credit, who said it. Okay, so that's a quotation. I'm just going to save that draft and show you what that looks like on the finished page. There we are. So it looks very different. A quotation, it gets moved in to the right a little bit, comes up in italics, and there's this separate line with the attribution on it. So that's how quotes look. Now, we'll get back to this whole subject later, but actually how quotes look and how headings look is something that we'll do on a separate time when we think about changing the entire look of the whole website, because that's how websites work. You choose your page, whether it's a heading or a quote or a paragraph or a list, and then you decide how it looks for the whole website all at one go. Now, I'm an organized sort of person, so I quite like that idea. You might find that complicated, but there we go. So that's our website, and we've added the quotation block. Right, now, this is where I think things get really interesting, because at the moment, we've got this big white space here and nothing on the right. We can add what they call a column. And actually what you do is, first of all, you add a columns. Notice the S on the end? I'm saying this deliberately. Bear with me. Bear with. There we are. And I've clicked the add columns. And straight away, I get the option to choose how many columns and how they line up on the page. Now, don't worry, there's loads more choices than this, but these are quick ways of adding columns. So I'm going to choose 3 columns, and you notice they're all 33%, in other words, a third. So it's 3 columns, 1/3 the width of the page. All right, so we've got our 3 columns, but it's not job done yet, because these columns are simply empty containers. They've got nothing in them. we need to decide what we want to put in them. And we do that with the wonderful plus symbol, and we can put a paragraph in. So this is in a column. Can't spell column. Okay, so paragraph. A paragraph in a column. And so here, for example, we could have wow, warm in here, said the heating engineer. Right. And we'll add something even more interesting over here. I think what we're going to do is we're going to add a heading. And then we're going to add a paragraph under that. So now what I've done is I've added 3 columns side by side. You see what happened when we made the column? Now, the interesting stuff starts here, because I've made a column of columns, and within the columns I've got 3 entries, and in each entry I can add as many bits as I want. They're simply boxes in which you can put stuff. Now, this is where the little control up here becomes really useful, the list view. When I click this now, you'll get a picture of how this page is made up. We've got a paragraph, and then a heading, and then a list, and then a quote, and then a set of columns, then a column with a paragraph in it, and a column with a quote in it, a column with a heading and a paragraph in it. And then there's a paragraph at the bottom with nothing in it. Okay, now this is all quite important, the way this all works. It's called nesting, which I think is a nice word, isn't it? And it shows that each column lives in a set of columns, and each item lives in something, and in this case lives in a column. There's stuff we can do here, and we use this list view to enable us to do stuff. So for example, if you click columns there, all right, we're now, if you look right across to the other side of the page, we've got the things about this set of columns, and indeed this toolbar here. We've got all the stuff to control about these columns. So for example, oh look, color. Let's do something clever and let's give it a background color. Now I happen to, we could have a blue set of columns, a bit dark, isn't it? Or could make it a little bit grey, or we could be really interesting and actually select a clever gradient background. So now we've got the columns set so they have a background, and personally I think that looks quite cool. But it isn't quite yet what I want to do, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure the draft is saved and have a look at that. Okay, here we are, 3 columns, and they've got this neat background on them. They're looking a bit odd on the page though, aren't they? They're sort of set in from the left. Okay, let's see what we can do. Well, we make sure we've got the columns selected, and it's here that, and here where we change things. So this is the horizontal, the crossways alignment. We can set it to wide width. Okay, wide width, or we can set it to full width. Now full width, let me just show you what that looks like. This is full width. Whoa, it's actually going right to the edge of my web browser. That's a full width. Sometimes you want things to go right out to the edges. Okay, let's go back and have a look again. But sometimes you want it just as a wide width. Okay, That's as it came up, and then we clicked wide width, and that's wide width. Okay, save draft, off we go, have a look. That's a little bit more like it, because now the column is the same width as all the rest of the page content. Okay, it's still got some white space down the sides. That's to do with the design of the whole website. We don't change that here, we decide that for the whole website. And if, you know, we could, as I say, fill from screen edge to screen edge, but at the moment the website is set up like this. We can change that later, but I've changed the column so it's the same width as everything else on the page, and I think it looks a little bit more okay here. So there's a preview of what we have made. We've made some columns and we've added them. There's just one thing that I think might be quite nice to show you before we finish this session, and that is there is one other technique or thing that you can add that I rather like, and it's another sort of block symbol there, or we can click this symbol here, and when we click that one we get the choice of seeing all of the different types of blocks that there are. There's an awful lot. There's loads here that you might want to experiment with, and feel free. I know I sort of scroll past a Google map there, so if you want a Google map, you put that in that way. Now, so we are going to put in something called a cover. Here it is, a cover. On your notice just to the right of this column it says add an image or video with a text overlay, great for headers. So we're going to add a cover, and because my cursor was down here, that's where it's put the cover, down below the columns, and it's offering me the chance to click on upload to take a picture from my computer and put it in there, or media library, which allows me to look in the media library, and that's what I'm going to do. Look in the media library. There is a picture of the skyline of Wakefield just ready to be used, and the clever thing is, look, I can put a title in there, and I can also put some copy. Okay, and I can say, well, actually I don't like that title in that layout, let's change it to aligned left. Okay, so I've got the title and the copy both aligned left. That's more as I want it. Some of the clever, now I'm going to save the draft, okay, and I'm just going to preview this so that you can see that's what it looks like. Okay, this is my for some reason my preview got out of step there. Here's the preview. Here's my new block. You see how nice that looks in the sense that it matches up with the columns. I asked for the columns to be wide and for the cover to be wide, and they match up. And that's looking good. This one is slightly to the left of that one. Not quite sure why that is, because yeah, I had expected them all to line up. Who knows what's going on there? We will explore. It may be something to do with this change alignment. I've already changed it to wide width. I change it again. There we are, that's on wide width. I'll change that to wide width, and yeah, let's see. I think that might have been the answer. We shall see. Yeah, there we are. For some reason that was not set to wide width, so it's now looking as it should do. So this alignment here, the horizontal alignment, needs to be set up. Now the really clever thing about covers is, yes, I've got text on top of a photograph, which is useful, but you notice also how it's dulled the picture down so that you can read the white text. And you've got control over this. You can, for example, say, I would like it in purple and yellow, because of course you're going to choose that. That's horrible, really. Well, I think it's horrible. You may think it's wonderful. Your choice, your website, your design. But see what you can do with this particular cover block. And in fact, you can, by clicking that button, you can also change those colors. So at the moment, the shadows are this sort of purpley color. I could change them to an orangey color, okay, or a reddy color. See how it all changes instantly. So I've got complete freedom there. I can make it really appalling if I want to, and I probably will. Okay, we click outside of that and you can see. So you can, in your cover, you can put a picture in, you can make it full width, match the rest of the page, and you can change it's called duotone, you can change the colors overlaid on the picture. Sort of clever. So that's all done, my new page all done, and I'm now, having finished adding ridiculous blocks to my new page, all I have to do is publish it. Okay, and you get this, are you ready to publish? And I'm thinking, yes, I am. I don't care what people think about me. So I'm going to look at this page, and here's my page as we have made. Lots of blocks. That's really all I wanted to share with you today, just the encouragement to go explore blocks and trying to use them to do slightly more clever things with your website. In our next video, we'll be looking at how we make the design of the whole page. Because you may notice there's a bar at the top and a bar at the bottom and there's some grey stuff on the side. All of that we can change, and we will look at that next week, as well as some really cool ways of using ready-made designs for your website. So that's for next time, and that is all for now. So good to see you.